Good morning, everyone. Today's my topic is eco-criticism and post-colonial studies. This is the basic information about myself. Now, first of all, if you want to see anything, we have to understand that word. That what is that word mean? So, first we have to understand what is eco-criticism. So, according to the uh, Glot Faraday, his collection of the eco-criticism reader, he explained that eco-criticism is the study of the relationship between literature and the physical environment. Just as feminist criticism examines language and literature from a gender conscious perspective, and Marxist criticism brings an awareness of modes of production and economic class to its reading of the text. Eco-criticism takes an earth-centered approach to literary studies. We see the nature and its relation with human and all other things are the topic of study in eco-criticism. And eco-criticism is also connected with post-colonial studies. What is this connection between eco-criticism and post-colonial studies? Post We have to understand that three pivotal event uh, that happened in past, and that is the LPG movement, that liberalization, privatization, and globalization. And globalization and eco-criticism is connected with each other, because eco-criticism and its topics are connected with globalization, and it affected also in global level. So according to Barbara, he, she said that post-colonial studies is incorporate and critical perspective by acknowledging non-human victims of colonialism, while eco-criticism is learning that it needs to distinguish between different human social groups and not talk about humanity as a whole as the perpetrator of environmental degradation. And post-colonial eco-criticism stems from the realization that Western criticism and anthropocentricism is consolidate one another. It draws attention to the principles of social ecology and the question of environmental justice, expressing concern about the fact that subaltern humans are denied access to the resources of the land they inhabit, and emphasizing the sustainability of their cultural practices. It means that the connection between eco-criticism and post-colonial studies is connected with each other. Then human become material centric, and they started to forgetting about nature and its importance. If we look at this picture, we see that society become the centric of money and material. We are more learning and teaching and doing about the economy, not for environment. And some post-colonialist, both within and outside literary studies, such a rethinking that idea that has been promoted by their engagement with new challenges such as those posed by environmental studies. And it is connection between colonialism and the destruction of environmental discovery. Now the technology is going in the peak of the society. We are started developing new tools and new techniques for everything, and we forget that the nature is played very pivotal role in all this thing, and we are destroying nature for that all developments. uh, and What eco-criticism is doing while the studying is As Dr. Manoj said, that it gives importance to the relationship between human beings and nature. How are human beings affecting nature and vice versa? And it is also the perspective that eco-criticism guides us to examine the world around us and critiquing the mannerism of society in the treatment of nature. And this theory also helps us to analyze and text with an eye on a nature portrayal by the author and the eco-critical drop within the text. So in this theory, we study the text, any film, any advertisement, and with the new thinking, with the rethinking and the perspective of nature, we are seeing this. And what eco-critics do in their studies. So we see that these questions are explain that what they should to do and what they supposed to do in the study of eco-criticism. So how is nature represented in the text? That is the topic of the study of eco-criticism. And if we see any film, any movie, any other text, that the setting is connected with environment or nature, this is also the study of eco-criticism. And the metaphors and images are used in representing the nature. It is also the topic of study in eco-criticism. And how do we see the issues of environmental disaster and crisis reflected in popular culture and literary works? This is also the topic of study in eco-criticism. And how do the roles or representation of man and woman toward the environment differ in the play, film, text, etc. That is the topic which eco-criticism do study on that. And where is the environment placed in the power hierarchy? It is empowered or oppressed in this work. So these are the topics that eco-criticism and the critique of eco-criticism are doing in it. If we understand it, if we want to understand eco-criticism in a better way, we have to take some examples, and through the examples we come to know about that how eco-criticism works and what is the role of eco-criticism in literature. So the first example of this eco-criticism is Narmada Bachao Andolan. When Sardar Sarovar Dam was built, this Andolan was take place. And the role of any poet, writer, journalist is to portray the truth and the reality through their works. So as we know that Tatvamasi is also written during that time by Dhruv Bhatt. So there is no reference of the event in that contemporary literature. Dhruv Bhatt remained silent for this topic, and he didn't discuss anything in his work Tatvamasi. So this is not the right thing. According to the author, he may be right, but what is the true role of writer, poet, and journalist is to reveal the truth or reveal the reality, that what is happening around at that time. And all people should know that reality through their work. So the if we connect this example of writing, we connect it with the corona pandemic also. That if in the corona pandemic time, if writers and poets are written any work or any text, then they should include that virus and that suffering of people in their works. But we see that many writers and poets are failed to do that because they have a fear, and maybe another reasons are there for not describing the truth and the reality in their works. Many few are doing that, and they are doing they are portraying the reality and truth in their works. And the another example, if we take then the ban of Pepsi and Coca in India, Coca-Cola in India. Kerala banned that Pepsi because our using groundwater. If the company will take all the water, then what the village people will going to do? They also want water for their daily life, and if a company will take that all groundwater, then the people are going to suffer from water. And for that, Kerala restricted that use of groundwater by PepsiCo, and they stopped selling the Pepsi and Coke in the Kerala state. If we look at the movie example, we took the example of Sherni movie. The main role was played by Vidya Balan, and it is also setting related with the environment. The people are destroying nature, and they're taking benefit of their with this cutting down of trees and constructing road and buildings also. We also look at that our that project of Chardham Yatra, that was also the example of cutting down trees and the unnecessary, not even most important thing to do. And the corporation are cutting down the trees, and they are they building that big buildings, and their places are destroyed, and the trees are cutting down for that construction and all this work. In this movie, we see that the tigress was wanted to change place, and for that she liked to pass by jungle, but the jungle was as we see in this picture, that the jungle was destroyed by that constructing works. So that tigress have to change their path for changing his place, and they and the tigress took the path of that village path, and she also hunted down many people. But what animals are going to do. And this second image, we can see that the bear was arrested she because it crossed the road, and it said that I am not crossing the road, the road is crossing my forest. We are building the roads in between the jungles, and we are constructing that buildings and all things. Then where all should animals going to go? So it become difficult for animals also to stay in the forest. And if we talk about what is the solution, then what we can do, then the excuses we can give in any topic and any matter, but we also have the solution also, the cutting down of tree. And we have to stop that cutting down. This is the one of the important solution for eco-criticism. And according to Richard Felix Sotwski, he said that religion contribution to the protection of forest is not limited to providing support for the protection of forest areas by evoking the tradition of scared groves. And there are many environmental organizations that focus on care of forest. And an important feature of the activity of these organizations are the religion motivations. And among the pro-environmentally oriented religious movements and social organization appealing the religious motivations, and one can include the Bishnoi community, the Chipko movement, and the Epico movement, and the Swadhyay movement, and the ecological movement of St. Francis of Assisi. And most of this arose in India. and where the tradition of the protection of the trees has its own rich history. As we see in this image that the only way to save trees is we can take help of religion, and with the help of religion we can be able to save the trees, because the Indian peoples and most of religion people who believe in religion, they if we put there one two stones and prepare like there is the samadhi and all this kind thing, then people are not going to cut down the trees. So it may be the useful method for saving trees. And this is my work citation, and thank you.